Once again, people, it's the man of the hour, Uncle Drumz, representing. Southside representative, the voice of the South. And right now, you know we're just vibing right now. On a vibe. On a vibe. Right now I'm going to try and see if I can get the man like Donald Hayden on the phone. See if we can have a reason right now. Let's see if we can do it right now. Yo, Mr. Donald Hayden, how's it going, bro?
Yes, delightful.
You good, yeah?
Good morning, good evening, and good night. Yes.
I'll tree. I'll tree.
As they say in Jamaica, good night.
Alright, so people, let me just introduce Mr. Donald Hayden, yeah? Uncle Drumz was introduced to Donald Hayden by a good friend of mine. A good friend of mine's uncle. He goes by the name of Mr. Bentley. Yeah? And he introduced me to Donald Hayden. And people, you know, sometimes when you meet someone and you know, say right now, that person's got something special about them. From the moment I saw Donald, me and Donald clicked like we knew each other for 30 or 40 years. Yeah?
That's true.
And from that day, I've known Donald. He's been my friend from that day ever since. Yeah? And he's someone that has helped me in situations when, you know, I've needed housing, or he's just a proper, that's what you call a proper friend. Yeah? And, you know, I'm glad to say that Donald is my friend, and we've kept the friendship going. And yeah, he's like family. So, introducing Mr. Donald Hayden. How are you, sir?
Well, I appreciate that. I know that when I come to write a book or I need a reference, I know where to come to. Great introduction.
Thank you, brother. So, how is it going in this perilous times now, my brother?
To me personally, I can only vouch for myself. I see it as a great situation in terms of, I see it as an opportunity for great things and for opportunities. Me personally, was to be totally honest with you.
Okay, no, that's good.
It may surprise a few, but that's my total honest opinion.
No, that's good, because obviously, as you know, the world right now, not even Yassa, just Yassa, the world right now is pumped with fear, and everybody's scared, and everybody don't know what's coming next, and there's fear. So to hear you say that, you know, is definitely an upliftment.
Yeah, you know, it is. I have to confess, really. I think because of my background, I have a strong belief in God. May not always be the best in terms of practicing, but one thing is embedded in my DNA is to have trust in God and to know that, you know, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and have a strong mind. So once you educate yourself and you've got knowledge and power, so what was heard in the community, they say knowledge is power. It's when you don't know, that's where, you know, people become unsure because they feel they've got no control of that. But, you know, even from the time, you know, he's got the whole world in his hands.
Yes. Sometimes
it's those types of things. So for me personally, I see this time of opportunity. I always remember, like, when you listen to successful business people, they always say to you that, you know, the rich get richer during tough times, and the poor tend to get poorer. So I think if you educate yourself, you'll see this time as a time of opportunities. And that's how I've taken it. You know, for the last few years, I feel like at times I've been under the grind, under pressure, because you're on the treadmill, constantly worrying about paying rent, you know, bills and all sorts of manner of different things. And I thank God that God has been instrumental in terms of, you know, refocusing my mind and redirecting me in a position refuge, and so it's given me a chance really just to relax, recuperate, focus on those things which are quite meaningful and important to me, and soulful and spiritual, uplifting. And this is a time really that we've been, it's always finding that quiet space, which normally in the scheme of things we don't find, because we're always busy doing something to feed the flesh, as to say.
Of course, my brother. And one thing I want to say to the people, just to let you know, Donald is a musician. He makes beats. He has hundreds of records and everything. And how I got introduced to him also, he introduced me to a young gentleman called Shumba Youth, a young gentleman called Shawn Michael.
Yeah, Shawn Michael.
And Mr. Garvey Dunn. And Mr. Garvey Dunn.
Dunn Garden.
Yeah, and Mr. Garvey Dunn.
Brother Garvey.
Yeah, so, and they was called, what was the band called?
The Positive Vibes Crew.
Alright. And a Beer Vibes, yeah, and
Beer Vibes,
me and these gentlemen, we travelled all over the place. We gotta leave the country and go next country and tear it down. So, yeah, man, and to be honest with you, Donald is a musical genius. Donald can play instruments, he can make beats, he can sing, he can rap, he can freestyle. He's one of the most talented people I've seen. You're a jack of all trades, bruv. You're a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I forgive it to you. You have a jack of all trades, bruv. Yeah? So, alright. So what we're gonna talk about today, just a little current affairs and certain things, because also Donald he's a teacher as well. He's also a teacher. He teaches children, youth and stuff like that. So, yeah, I want to talk to you. What I want to talk to you about, Donald, yeah, first topic.
Yeah.
Our black youths, yeah, was going out of control. And I'm not generalising, yeah. I'm not generalising, so I'm not saying everybody's pickney or every black youth out there was going out of control, but there was a lot of black kids going out of control. With these stabbings, these shootings, these gang ting. And, you see how God just works things, because nobody ain't doing nothing right now. Yeah?
Yeah.
No one's doing nothing right now, so everybody have to second themselves. But what I wanted to ask you though, Donald, yeah? As a black male and as a teacher, what was it that you think that made the kids go haywire and start wanting to be so violent and certain things?
Yeah, what it is, I think I wouldn't be doing it justice. First thing I need to qualify is that I'm not a qualified teacher, but I've worked quite a numerous amount of years in education, and yes, I've taught in an unqualified capacity. So I just wanted to say that for those that know me, that when I put on no false information.
No, but you're still a teacher though. Regardless. Yeah, you're still one.
I just wanted to on a professional capacity. Yeah. I worked in schools and with some of the most challenging kids. Most ones with challenging behaviour and disabilities and stuff. So yes, I just wanted to say in terms of qualification, professional.
Yes, of course.
And it's definitely paid employment and stuff. So yeah, in terms of going to your question, when I try and step back and look at things in terms of whether it's scientific, cultural, political, historical, and as you said with your question, you're asking in terms of the madness and the levels of violence. Things is that nothing happens in isolation. There's a lot of ingredients that go into a situation. Things just don't just manifest like that. It's something that, is a corrosion. Let's put things into practicalities. Yes, the kids, from my experience in terms of these kids, just from a basic level, often kids will, carry weapons and knives and stuff like that because they feel unsafe. Some of the weaponry is as a premise to, the, gang violence, also about the drug war that's taking place on our streets. And because of the nature of some kids that are quite vulnerable, obviously they get seduced by the money, but also as well because of peer pressure, intimidation, seduction, all sorts of things. They get brought into that lifestyle, and once they get involved in that, then generally, it's difficult for them to get out. Like back in the day, the film like Blood In, Blood Out. So it's difficult for those kids. Sometimes it's just because of the environment that they're living in that they also get roped into that, because it's, they join and become part of that. Sometimes it's just a case of, cousins, family. Like I was watching something the other day, they were saying that when these guys do their talks, most kids who get involved in drugs, gangs, and vice versa, it's always done from someone that they know. So it's either a brother, or uncle, or aunt, or a father, grandfather, or their best friends or mates, So it's people that they look up to or they have a strong connection with that they get involved in this. Sometimes it's just a case of some kids do it for extra pocket money, and other times really it's just a sense of survival.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the environment that we live in, the society that often we live in is violent. If you look at even the superheroes that we watch on TV, they deal with things through violence.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
We enlist to fight wars, and are soldiers given a license to do an act of violence to take life in the name of the Queen or the country.
True.
It's violence.
True. Very true.
Our interactions often with the police is around violence.
That's
Sometimes
true.
the discipline we give to our children is violent.
I get you.
The films that we watch systematically around violence. If we look at the Ninja Turtles, what do?
Mash up the baddies, yeah.
It's violent. So if you look at it, the society is built around violence, inequality, discrimination. So we, as men, for example, whether you're black or from whatever background, you go to school, you're told, apply yourself to the system. Sometimes the system works for you. More often, it works against you. You go into the world, the salary you're earning doesn't always afford you the lifestyle that you need to get. Then children come along. So you often have males who feel that they've been unfulfilled. They don't fit straight into that environment. It's the same with those children. I've worked in primary schools and I can see that a lot of our young black males, for example, go into the system very bright and intelligent, but the way that often parents socialise their kids and educate them is out of sync with what the school is. The school generally system is about compliance and about how you can regurgitate. It's not really about always logical thinking. It's about your ability to write. So when a young child comes in and it comes from a background where it's told to use initiative, to use personality, assertiveness, that those skills aren't necessarily appreciated in the classroom. If a young teacher has 20 to 30 kids and that child comes up and is quite boisterous and energetic and he's used to be assertive in the culture of education that's seen as bad manners or a child that's ill-behaved.
Yeah, all on it. Stick up in there, Donald. Yeah, you made a very valued point. A lot of our black children, they are confident. They got lots of energy. And they're just vibrant. They're and that's not no disrespect to anybody that ain't black. I'm just saying the black children, our children, we're talking about. That's their package, right? And a lot of the middle class white teachers that teach them, sometimes they might find that intimidating. Or, like you said, bad manners, or just they can't vibe with that. And I've noticed that, like a lot of black youths, for them to get somewhere, they have to dumb down themselves.
Yeah, it's just the reality of it is that our parents from whatever background you're from, we're cultured. We have a, what do you call it, a minor culture or a subculture, which is what we train our kids to do. And often that is about survival. So it's maybe in a city or certain ways of doing different things. So our children already becomes quite aware of personalities and characters. And so they might not necessarily be able to articulate that, but they can already make formed opinions of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So when your child goes in and he's being told to do something which he sees as he doesn't understand, it's like the same thing I have with my son. You have to break it down to him and explain to him. But if he doesn't believe in it, then he will resist it.
Yes.
But at the same time, he's quite an assertive child, and he doesn't suffer fools gladly. Now, in an environment where it's about compliance and about being behaved and listening to your elders, that's the difference. But again, we live in an environment that do as I say and not as I do. So even as adults, we ourselves are not accountable.
True.
But we want our children to be accountable.
Truly.
So it's a complicated, it's not, that's why there's hundreds of thousands of books around psychology, behavioral psychology, sociology. This is the time, it's a great struggle. During our time, the internet wasn't very prevalent. You can get, most of our kids are being educated by Google and all sorts of things. Often they know a lot more about us, but the emotional ability, the emotional intelligence to deal with this information, their hunger for knowledge overrides their ability and their puberty. So they're taking on board stresses, concerns, body issues, all sorts of things about the world around them based on whoever they get information from.
Yeah.
And so therefore, with all of that, it's a struggle. And I find that with my interaction with young people, if they don't believe that they're going to get something right the first time around, they don't want to make an attempt, because for them, their world is based on you get things right the first time, because that's what they get off the internet or their understanding. Yeah. And so they're not necessarily being trained to deal with imperfections, because they're expected to act in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we are ourselves. We are constantly projecting a sense of perfection from our artists, our actors, our sports persons, people that we look up to, and yet we don't take in consideration that we're human, and that these people here are often having to play out their personal life, their shortcomings in the public domain, and there's never any opportunities for them to be to get it wrong or to make any mistake.
Truly. All right, Don. So, listen, brother. Yeah. All right. Let's take our black youth for a second again. Let's put away knives. Let's put away gangs. Let's put away guns. Yeah. Our youth do not get along with the police force, the police system. Yeah? Why do you think that is?
Nothing's really changed to that extent from when we were growing up. And at the same time, if you look at it in 2 points, there's the perpetuation of prejudice. There's a fear of sometimes the black man or the unknown. There's our stereotypes. So often, sometimes the recruitment of the police officers are coming with their own prejudices.
Yeah.
So when they engage from a position that this person is a threat. So they know they harness that, and they will use that to often, engage young people. And sometimes often the way that they interact with the young people is as if they're dealing with an adult, not that they're dealing with a child.
Yes, that's right.
So if you see the psychology of often police or anyone that's enforcement officers, it's about self-preservation. So often they will use extra force because for them, their threat or their targeting of an individual, say young people from our community, is that they will see them as a major threat. I've been on the road myself, as I said, when I worked at some schools, and I've seen that some of our kids, the police are frightened of them.
Yeah.
And they won't engage them unless there's more than 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And so therefore, our young people have no respect because maybe their first interaction with the police has been based on that they've overreacted and not given them the benefit of that or engaged them as if they're an adult. And I've had, young people express that to me.
Yeah.
I myself, growing up, I had some real, very unpleasant experiences with the police.
Yeah.
And I was a child, and those things stayed with me to an adult. I've tried to go at lengths to engage the police and be involved in some programs or initiative just to be able to deal with them. But again, part of that is that the police haven't learned over the years to actually engage the black community and to work alongside those. And I was quite fortunate in the area that I grew up. We had a local police. In those days, you called them the Bobby.
Bobby, yeah, Bobby,
yeah.
Not to Bobby.
Local Bobby. So the guy that we had, he was cool. So we had that good relationship with him. But often the young people are dealing with police because of the stretched resources. There aren't really any local Bobbies. So that young person's first interaction really with the police is often a negative situation, not one that's positive.
Yeah.
I think the only time they have real positive, maybe rapport with police, are those that are assigned to a particular school. But generally, in terms of their interaction with the police, it's often negative. And also it's prejudices that are being passed on by parents or, the wider community or the environment. And what they've seen injustices, for example, if someone gets killed by the police, I don't think any police officer has ever been brought to justice over the loss of life.
That's right.
When someone's in custody.
That's right. And even saying that, there was I can't remember what his name was, but there was a young man. Yeah, I remember I saw it on television, on YouTube. He got strangled out. I think he's from Hackney. Yeah, he's from that side.
In the shop.
Yeah.
In the shop.
Like
yeah,
come on, that was like totally disgusting, man. Like, and there's certain people that want to say, oh, well, he had we heard he was a drug dealer or he had drugs on him. So what if?
The problem is it's a bigger environment than that. The unfortunate thing for ourselves is because we're quite relatively still a new nation, and as I said, really, you've got the African continent of Africa. Most Caribbeans are, not all of them, but our legacy, as we've been informed through propaganda and misinformation, is through slavery. So with the lack of knowledge about our historical backgrounds and our genealogies, often that's where our starting point is. So when you look at it really in terms of when you're looking at African Americans or those from the Caribbean, we are still relatively a new nation of, what could you say, between 100 to 400 years.
Yeah.
Other nations are quite established. They've already got normalized languages and cultures and religion that backs up. For us, we're still relatively new. So when you look at it psychologically, sociologically, we've been groomed to think as individuals. So divide and rule, divide and conquer. We still have that level of it, of mindset, which sometimes we attack each other. But the reality of it is there's been a mass brainwashing technique that's undergone to our community. So as you say, really, you can say the system of the out-out slaves and the in-out slaves, those that were in our house, can be deemed, again, this is just quite basic, but just some of the typologies where those people who are more able to fit in within society, and you got those outside who's still bearing the scars, in the DNA from that, and it's very difficult to engage in an environment. If we really put it down to it, it's difficult when you think really we got here through violence, aggression, serious, annihilation of our society, our culture, and the way we lived our lives. And again, the continent that we're, from, is still ravaged by that. So really, we're carrying the scars of that, and there's been no restitution, no forgiveness, no sorry. For example, the Jews who, suffered under the hands of the Germans have, continually get financed by the Americans and vice versa to rebuild Israel. And, they get, their days of remembrance for that. But again, as a community, as a nation, we still don't have that. So when you don't have a nation mentality, then the way you think is as an individual. So, for example, in most areas you have the Jewish quarter, the Bangladesh, the Hindu, the Sikh, and because even though they've gone through some sort of what do you say, Commonwealth impact or colonization, they still come out of it with their culture and their religion and their way of life and language is still intact, whereas we've not had that. So relatively, really, I know we are hard on ourselves, but we don't take in consideration psychologically, those things. So hence why, it wouldn't go unsaid why still we are, still high in mental health and prisons, because there hasn't been any, counselling for those different things. So the anger is still in us, but instead of it getting channeled towards our oppressors, we channel it towards each other, because that's how we've been brainwashed to think. So going back to the police now, that often we are, the murder rate, we kill ourselves. So for anyone looking at that would look at us and think, well, why should we value the black community when we are, we are killing ourselves? But then that is about self-hatred. And again, the psychological, sociological, damage, the mental health issues are there because of what we've endured, through that, and it's still in our DNA, still in there, and there's psychological reports, that will tell you that that's not post-traumatic stress disorder that may have gone through generations.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to take that into consideration when we're engaging with each other, and also when we are looking at the wider community. So, for example, as a nation, if we start thinking nationwide, then when we address issues to do with the murders, because we're not engaging as a nation, then people can come in unawares and do what they need to do to our community, but they wouldn't be able to get away with that from other communities because they're still seen as a nation. They move as a nation.
That's right.
And that's the difference. So that's the first thing we have to look at it as, is to readdress ourselves, redefine our terms of engagement, and to start seeing ourselves as an engagement. But what you find is something happens and we implode, and you got some sectors of the community backing it, some sectors of the community is not backing it. So, and that's where we are also straight away, we're divided already on that principle. So you may get the individuals who go up and say, yeah, we don't want no violence to the police and stuff, but it's just different.
But hold on, Donald, yeah?
Yes.
Where you just made a point, I said that, that could happen to other races, yeah? But it wouldn't go the way it goes with us, right?
Yeah.
But there are some black people out there, yeah, that try to formulate and unify and try to come together. And there's some that think individual-wise and say, oh, no, I'm not grouping up and I'm not doing this, yeah? But what you got to understand is that there is actually a lot of other people that are not the same as us, yeah, that do not want us to come together. I.e., yeah, look at that march. Look at the march in from Brixton to Parliament.
Yeah.
Yeah? The march, what's done? The first time it was done, it was like 7,000 people walking to Parliament.
Yeah.
So if that's the first time it's done, and you've got 7,000 people walking to Parliament, by next year that could be 14, that could be 10, it could be whatever, but it's gonna get stronger. But people have already paid people to cut off the march, and some people have gone into Kennington Park, and then half of the rest is walking to things. So that shows, like, there's people that don't want us to be together. Some people feel threatened by, you could have 10 Indian men in one corner. That's not a problem. Yeah, well, it can be a problem now because obviously they're saying like, oh, that could be terrorism and this and that. So that could be a problem. Or 10 Chinese men on the corner, 10 Eastern European man on the corner. That no one's not really going to see that as a problem. But
yeah, because it's about perception.
Yeah, but you got 10 black men on the corner now.
Yeah, but it's about perception, isn't it? Because the thing is that if I was to be totally honest, if I walk down the road and I see 5 white guys walking down in front of me, I'm gonna have less fear. If I see 5 Asian guys, I'm gonna have less fear. If I see 5 brothers now in a certain thing, there's a fear. My back goes up because again, it's about how people.
But who's put that fear in you? Who's put that fear in you?
That's what I'm saying. It's about our perception of fear. It's about how it's socialized. We're socialized to think a certain way. So if we're thinking that, if a young person goes on the street and thinks, okay, you know what, I may come up against some youths, that's a perceived fear. But me and you could walk that same street and nothing happens to us.
Yeah, but check this though, Don. Check this though, Don, yeah? Before the time what we're in now, right, what's going on now, right now, what's going on now, yeah? Everybody's in fear of what's going on now, yeah? Everybody, every colour, everybody is in fear of what's going on now. But give it about a year ago, you ask a couple people that are not black, what is your biggest fear? They're going to tell you, oh, you know, some black guy in a hoodie, you know, I'm scared of guys.
It's like propaganda, isn't it? Look,
that's what I'm saying, which is stupid.
I grew up in Birmingham, and again, because of there was a few young black males that were targeting a particular area in Birmingham, just to stretch a road, and they would smash the window when their cars was in traffic and grab the bags. So that was politicised through the news. And so therefore, if I was a black male, walking through, crossing the road during rush hour, the central locking would go down because of perceived fear. It's the same thing. It's like the coronavirus. To me personally, it's common sense. It's normal for the level of deaths to be going the way they are, because we're still in a period of incubation and the manifestation of the government's ability or lack thereof to address the issue sooner when they should have. You know, there 2 weeks ago, people were saying, look, why are you guys not taking it serious? They said that their main concern was that they were fearful that the British public wouldn't adjust to the fact of being told to with so stringent measures. So they decided to go on the air of caution, and they got the medical staff or the chief to actually agree to not do that. Only to when numbers got serious that they decided to do that. So what we're doing now is that we're going through a process now because of slowness. Many countries shut their borders straight away as soon as they got 1 or 2. We allowed it to build up. So this is just a natural 14-day period where we're going to get high numbers. After a period of time, the numbers will reduce because we will start seeing the results of the lockdown. There will be less numbers.
All right.
Going down.
All right. Let's go back.
Then they explain that in the news.
Yeah.
They tell you that, you know what, guys, people are being stupid. So that's the same way how the machine of the media is used to spread fear and make situations worse than what they really are.
All right. Now check this.
Tell you how many people are recovering. You only hear about how many people are dying.
All right, we might get onto that. I'm not sure if we're gonna deal with that, but
I only use that as a result.
Yeah, I know. I know. But check this.
Can be changed.
But check this though. Check this. I want you to check this in your mind. You know, in the bus, the bus has got that big picture on the side, yeah?
Yeah, advertising space, yeah.
Now, enough times I look up at that advertisement space, yeah, and I look and it's got some white dude with a gun in his hand. It could be James Bond, it could be whatever guy.
Yeah.
And no one blinks an eye at that advertisement space. It's advertising a movie, obviously we know that, yeah? And it's got a white guy with a gun in his hand. And no one blinks an eye. Yeah? No one says anything, don't even notice it. But let's just say if you was to take Stormzy and put Stormzy up there, yeah? And put a hoodie on his head, and all you can see is his face and the hoodie coming.
I can answer your question to you. Let me tell you what the distinct difference is. The distinct difference instance is that James Bond often is portrayed as a quintessential English gentleman. He's gone through public schooling, has all their airs and graces, is able to engage, displays incredible emotional intelligence, and he's often able to make decisions based on logical thought and not emotion. So the livelihoods of him responding in a way whereby it's an emotional outburst is realistically seen as minimal. So therefore, he's the one that they know that we've trained you according to our manual. So as far as we're concerned, you're going to always be loyal to the Queen. When often that's put in question, he always comes back and shows that he's reliable. Now, when you put that into the hands of a youth or someone that's perceived, the motivation is no longer state focused. It's not state sponsored. It's deemed as themselves. So when you put someone like Stormzy now, who's seen as, you know, the new face of the young black male, but still raw, edgy, you know, smiles and engages, he's kind of like an upgrade from you know, what's his name?
Skepta.
Not Skepta. The other guys. He's Dizzy Rascal.
Okay, yeah.
Because Dizzy Rascal was a smiler, but he was a man of very short words, maybe short bursts. Whereas Stormzy is able to articulate himself through art and his rap form. Dave is a different type of individual who's quite articulate.
Of course. Doesn't
get the same platform as Stormzy, but he's quite articulate in terms of the way he can pronounce himself. Another rapper would have been good, but he went off on a tangent of culture, which is Tiny Temper, because his ability to orate and put a string of sentences together is quite cool. But again, his passion isn't really community based; it's more about business and art and culture.
Yes.
So therefore, when you look at it, really, it's about the manifestation of this, and it's about his ability, as I said, with Stormzy's ability to, you know, to present and speak for the youth and those that are disadvantaged. So he does in a way using his weapon of choice, which is the microphone.
Hold on, Donald. Hold on. Stick a pin. You. I know what you're saying, but listen to what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
There's a guy on the side of the bus on the advertisement space with a gun in his hand. Yeah?
Yeah.
And he's Caucasian and he's got a gun in his hand. No one bats an eyelid to that. But if you put Stormzy, yeah, or any one of them guys up there with a hoodie on and all you can see is their shoulders, their face, and the hoodie coming down on their face, that is going to terrorize and intimidate a lot of people. Maybe not the youths that know who that person is and rates that person, but that shows you the small-mindedness of people, that you can just have your hood on your head and people are intimidated and they don't want nothing to do with you and they want you removed.
I don't agree with you, but the thing is that as human, I look at it on both sides. When I grew up, when I was growing up, and I was maybe 7, 10, I remember my dad said to me categorically, if any of my sons turn Rasta man, I'll walk another side of the road and disown you. Regardless of what, this is one thing that's troubling and understanding. We are a minority group. Unfortunately, we are at in terms of our legacy in the UK, we've given an incredible amount, but we've not laid hold of it or taken recognition or shouted on the rooftops about how we're contributing to the environment. So because we haven't copywritten it or registered it or given it a mark, other communities have come along and leapfrogged us, and we've not packaged it, because in our very nature is one of giving, and our parents and grandparents said, do a good job and vice versa, and you'll be rewarded. That's happened for some, but the majority hasn't happened. Now we've got young people who are raw and realise that we don't ask questions, we just go out there and take it. So therefore they're seen as someone that's not Guy near control. That's what I was using in the James Bond analogy.
Yeah.
Because James Bond is still ruthless and aggressive and displays all those of a psychopath or sociopath tendencies.
Of
But
course.
because he's able to be a chameleon and still sit down with the Queen and engage, he's still seen as it's round about emotional intelligence and your ability to control your emotions.
But,
so if you notice, soldiers and those that work in these forces are trained to be able to make logical decisions minus emotion.
Yeah.
Our young people, they're portrayed, they're still carrying out actions of aggression, but because they're seen as loose cannons and fear and something that's uncontrolled, then that is the issue. So they play into people's fears because the other guys' behaviours or justification for violence is seen as one of a greater good, whereas these guys, their actions are about self-interest, antisocial behaviour, and so therefore they play into an environment where people's fears, people's worst nightmares. But every decade or every period of time, there has to be a Guy Fawkes, there has to be an individual. You know, before that, it was the black youth, then it was the mugger, then it was the single parent. You know, every society has that. If there were no blacks or whatever, then it would be the lower class, the workers. You had the serfs. There's always a villain.
Yeah, but check this though, Don. Check this though, Don. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm asking your question.
No, you're not really, but I do understand what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. But check this though, yeah. Regardless of how anybody sees our picnic or our children, yeah, we have to install in them that you don't have to be violent, and you're not violent, and you're not a troublemaker, and you're not this, because middle class white folk ain't gonna understand these little youths what they see on the road making up beer noise.
But we don't understand. The thing this is what I'm trying to say to you before. Sometimes we're simplistic in our analysis of the situation. We don't protect our own. That's what I'm
trying to tell you. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's what I was trying to get at. And I may have gone around a different way of doing it. I always remember categorically when Soul Solid Crew came on the scene. Now, the guy for me who started that Mega Man, he's a genius. Because there was no template or nothing that you could look at and think, yes, that these guys did.
Mega,
they built
Mega, yeah, big up Mega.
Business, yeah, built a business. Now, because they did it in an attitude of, they didn't beg, they just said, this is who we're about, and they came as an explosion. And they took what would be street business and turned it into something was legitimate. Now, remember, there were, you know, some movers and shakers from the black community in the area of media, music, and other areas. So when these guys came out, we did what we normally do, which is to say that they're not of us, we're not one of those. And so therefore, when we did that, it meant that the powers to be, we gave them the full license to put them back in order.
Of course.
And you broke it down. New version of that was Boy Better Know. They learned from that and they came in a certain way, which wasn't, you know, calmed it down and realised, you know what, we're not going to come out there and even though we're portraying a bad boy image, but we just leave that to the videos, but we're not going to make that manifest itself because we can see those people are going to get killed and this is too bad for business.
Alright, but hold on, Don. You just gave two examples, So Solid and Boy Better Know. So Solid got ostracized and got terrorized, and the police and the government, everybody came down on them, yeah? Boy Better Know saw it different, done it different, and got a different turnout. But the point of the matter is, yeah, they're artists, Donald. They're not killing anybody. They might be talking a one talk on the mic or doing whatever they're doing, yeah? But that's entertainment. So why hold on. So why should So Solid be terrorized and put in prison and ostracized and all this stuff happen to them, and Boy Better Know makes a bag of money and gets up there and everybody loves them and rates them. But at the same time, they're all music artists. They're not doing. They're not. What are they doing? But making music. But you know what it is? Because one person is considered as, oh, do you know what? I find that one super aggressive and I can't work with that and I don't know what they're about and why did they have to do that? And maybe Boy Better Know has found a different way around it. They're still the same thing.
Again, like I was saying before, like I agree with you. It's about, one is about perception, about perceived fear. When So Solid Crew, they brought them all, they came with something totally different. But they're street guys that try to go legit. But when you start from the street, the people around you aren't necessarily going to take that for the interest. So it's about perceived fear. Boy Better Know came, and yeah, there were a few guys from that environment who, you know, got caught up in the life, bounced between the two, and they're serving time for that.
Yeah, Morgan, yeah, I know, Morgan and that, I know he did.
Yeah.
Big up Morgan as well.
Big up Morgan. So the situation at the moment is, again, we've got a new set of young people who are realising that the music business, there's money to be made, and they're trying to make that transition from the streets into legitimate business,
yes.
Men and women.
Yes.
And again, we as elders have another opportunity to make good for them, but still, they're still not protected. Does that make sense? And that's the point I was making.
But you know why? Listen to what I'm saying to you. You know why they're not protected, Donald? The reason why they're not protected is because of it's the way that the white man sees black people's kids. I'm gonna give you a proper example. When your kids are kids, yeah, say like you got a boy and a girl, yeah. When your kids are kids, yeah, your kids might be able to hang around with a white family or whatever family, yeah, and run around and do that and play as kids. Soon as they get to a certain age, yeah, they don't want your boy child around their kid. Your boy child ain't done nothing. When he gets to about 10, 11, 12, they don't want him in the circle no more. And that ain't got nothing to do with your 10, 11 or 12-year-old or 13-year-old kid. It's got nothing to do with the kid. The kid hasn't done anything wrong. It's what they got in their head about your child. Because how they look at your dad and your granddad. So it's passed down to your kid. So your kid is not going to be protected because that is the... Listen to what I'm saying to you, yeah? A lot of black men do not have control over their children. Yeah? They're not teaching their children nothing. They're not telling their children nothing. If they tell their children the real and how and what the world is about and what they should look out for and what's coming, they would have a better insight of what's going on in the world. A lot of black kids do not have that. They don't have that. So when we're running the race of life, you've got a black kid, you've got a white kid, you've got a Chinese kid, and an Indian kid. The black kid is gonna fall short because a lot of them ain't got no dads. A lot of them, their mum's struggling, doing 2-3 jobs, ain't got time to sit down and talk to them. But you got Indian family, got mum and dad. You got a white family, got mum and dad. You got a Chinese family, got mum and dad. Plus, they got culture and they got tradition, which they're putting in their heads. So before they get to school, before they get to wherever they get to, they're strong because their culture and their tradition and everything, and they've been taught you're powerful, you're going this. Look at how black children are grown up. Don't do that. If you do that, I'm gonna slap you. Don't shut up. Don't go and sit down. I'm not saying all of children get taught to like that, but a lot of children get taught to like that. What when it comes to white? Hold on. When it comes to white folk, what you think that they're gonna talk? You know what they're telling their kid? You know what? You're great. You are. You're gonna be a champion. You're gonna be this. You're a star. You're that. Come on, mate. That's why we're not protected.
No, but I hear you. I think there's different. This is what I said to you again. There's things are not always straightforward or steam. when I was living in London in Abbey Wood, I was working at a Prue. 99% of the kids there were white, working class kids, and there's a lot of young ladies there and also the young gentlemen. And out of all the school in the area that I was with, the secondary bit, there was only 4 black kids in that school. The majority of them were 98% were white. And in that area, there was no Asian kids in the Prue. When I went to East London, the majority of the kids, it changed over the 4 years I was there. The Prue was predominantly, initially, was quite mixed, and then towards the latter bit, it became predominantly Asian and black, and with a sprinkle of other nationalities, maybe for example Romanian or Eastern European.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you had the occasional Sikh or Hindu kids, and there were a few anomalies because you'd find that the schools would pay for private places. So the thing what I'm trying to say is that in some areas there's issues around gender, religion, class, middle class, those things play. Yes, I can protect. There are some things that happen that go across the board with kids, and then there are the other things which are culture specific. You also find that in the Asian communities, the parents are struggling because, as I said, the school that I was working at, a lot of the Asian kids were getting involved in some serious crime.
Yeah.
And what you'd find then is that their introduction is through a family member. There was kids there that were on top of, the tree of drugs because, students were earning like $2,000 a month or living in penthouses.
Yeah.
They couldn't read and write because that's the journey they had. It's a different, things aren't always black and white.
Yeah, I know that.
As I say with our black community, for me, it's like I was reading a WhatsApp feed and there was a message that said just before the corona, with the start of the corona virus, and the message came around and it was like we should boycott the Asian community because they've decided to put the prices up. So for me personally, it got me angry, but not for the reasons what most people would perceive it to be. The frustration for me is that our generation and the generation before that, for whatever reason, whether we can say blame or whatever, is that we haven't left a legacy for our kids. And I'm not really looking, for me personally, for inclusion. I'm not really looking to blame at this stage the white man or the Europeans or whoever it is, because if I continue to wait for them to change, I'm going to be a victim, and I'm going to put my life in their hands based on salvation.
Yeah, real talk.
Do you understand? So for me personally, moving from that, the Asian community just to give us a blight, then we are deceiving ourselves, because the business world, or those that are wise, sensible, they will put up the price. That's how business works. When things are in abundance, the price goes down. When things are scarce, the price goes up. That's how the world works. That's how the business of the world works. So when I hear people say, well, man, that Indian man or Asian man, may I go that shop from yours and all them are put up the price, then all they're doing is good business. That's good business sense. Why sell something for 50 pence when you can sell it for, £5? Because it's scarce.
Of course.
So they're just monopolizing. So when I hear that, it's just, I was just angry by why we're boycotting. For me anyway, we should have stopped going to those shops from time and invest in our own. But as I said, really, if we as a community start thinking as a nation, then what you'll find is that things will change
of course.
Considerably, and these issues. So therefore, because that got me thinking about about strategy. So therefore, if you have a blueprint, there's a guy, I've heard talks and stuff, and I agree with the guy. If we look at it as a nation and decide that, let's build a blueprint, let's have a strategy, let's have a marketing strategy, how we can build ourselves as a nation. Let's forecast in the next 20 years where we see ourselves. Let's forecast where we can look at putting our young people into jobs. So instead of them just going to university, we can have businesses that they can actually go and take over.
True.
And when we know our skills, so if your skills is about, if you know yourself, you know that I'm just the guy who's good at finding businesses and doing the deals, but you're not the person that should be residing over it, then you leave that in the capable hands of someone else, and you move on to the next stage and next stage. So by the time our children leave school, they're guaranteed to be going into jobs, and we can say, well, I need you to be a lawyer, a solicitor, or a hoteler. So we're going to pay for you to do a training scheme where you're going to learn about hospitality, because we've got a string of hotels, we've got bars, and we need you to have that.
Of course.
That's what we need to be thinking at, but because we're not thinking that, so therefore we pay thousands of pounds to send our children to university, knowing to the fact that we live in an environment where it's divisive, and that our kids have less of a chance of getting that particular job and have to work extra hard or twice or three times as hard to attain and to get that job, then we're setting them up to fail.
You know what?
So,
go on.
So that's the point when I heard that, and I was saying in terms of different things, that our mindset is that we're still seeking to be accepted in a world that doesn't really want us. Or if you're a black man, our time is over as a black man. Our generation, we're kind of finished in reality.
Yeah. Because
there are other nations now, like Bulgarian, Romanian, Eastern European, that have long since come, adapted better to society, have a better work ethic, are more focused on, what's the bigger picture?
Yes.
They're focused on nation. All right, these wages aren't great, but they're damned more than I get at home. So you know what? I'm going to earn my money, bank it, and build my house, and then retire early.
Yeah.
But we're not thinking that.
Yeah. Big up my Polish and Romanian and Bulgarian crew, because I got enough people out there that rate me, and I rate them, and it's love, same way.
And on the grind, and the same way for those kids who go to elite schools, what they're trained to do is to understand the system and how to manipulate the system and make the system work for them. What we're not passing on to our kids is how they can utilize the system and make the most of the system so they can flourish. We're not passing those things on, because there are very few of us who have excelled to any dizzy heights where they can pass that through. And there are a lot of successful black people, but often they're not exposing themselves for one reason or the other to those kids that need it. So therefore they live very quiet. They, are in upper echelon of society, but never the twain meet. So I remember a few years ago I was active, went to a few events put on by one of the Jamaican societies, and it was a different world. And when I went there, it gave me direct exposure to some of the high flyers and some of the movers and shakers in the community, people that had a lot of say. And the struggle that they were having is that most of them now were 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, but they didn't have the legacy for young people to take over from the mantle.
Of course.
So therefore they were in positions of power and influence, but didn't have either the fan base or the numbers to actually support it. So often it'd be just the general funding of banquets and going to the races and vice versa, but it meant that they were in a good position for political clout, but the numbers just weren't there. And so at the moment, where we're flourishing is in the areas of continually sports and entertainment, because that's an area where we're more abundant. Again, DNA and the church and gospel singing, and that's something that's quite encouraged. But if we start thinking in terms of nation building, and we put our monies together, and back in the day, our parents, when they came to the UK, there'll be 12 in a room, and they will live and they'll do shift works, So they came with a purpose. Some went back to their countries of origin, others stayed, and from there on, they put in partners that did different things to make businesses. But when we invest our money in perishables. So a car that depreciates, clothing, nothing that gives us, residual income. So we need to be thinking about nation building. How can we make money that we can earn whilst we're in our sleeps? So,
True.
as I said to you before, that you're doing great works, you're excelling yourself, but you're just one man doing your thing. So if you get taken out, then that's the end of that trail until someone else picks it up.
Very true.
But we need to be like ants, where we're working tirelessly, and some of us where we can decide and think, you know what, I'm going to do this now for the greater good because I want to build our community. So they do that effortlessly.
Go on.
So, for example, if you look at other communities, you got, again, using the Asian community for an example, they will come to the UK or do what they're doing, very little English, but they know maths. They will do what they've got, use what they need to do, get a corner shop or some sort of business, build it up, and they will pay to and work their status. So they may be a lower class back in, India or somewhere in that area, region, Pakistan or Bengali or wherever it is, Bangladesh or Gujarat or wherever, but they'll come in with their minimal, communication skills, and through that shop or for that business, they will transfer their social class to one of our high status of middle class, because the UK gives them the opportunity. So their kids will go to a school where it enables them to get a great command of English. They have a good work ethic because they see their parents in business. They'll be schooled. They get their own work experience in the business. Even so, they do that. They'll build an extension to the house because they've got that residual cash. So the family doesn't leave. They just build another extension. The family stay in, the money comes together, and they reinvest that money. And then that daughter then or son has the opportunity then, if they've got the brains, to become a doctor, a solicitor, a lawyer. So within one generation, they've managed to jump out of poverty, jump out of a lower class to a higher class.
Yeah.
So now that individual now has the potential now to marry again up. So constantly upskilling.
Yeah.
But we're not at that level yet. So you get individuals who are doing well and that's successful, but we're not thinking nation. We're not doing that. So therefore, the money goes out of the community. Whereas in the Jewish community, it goes around about, let's say, up to 27 times before it leaves the community.
Mm-hmm.
So one guy is the mechanic, another person does events, another person does furniture. So they know already in the community that, all right, we go here. And because of the religion and the culture, then, that's where they meet and there's good businesses. And so therefore they're able to buy out all areas. So for example, like Golders Green,
Stamford Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hold on, Donald, yeah? But like you said, nation building, yeah? But you see what it is now? Like, when they say boycott Asian man and all that, yeah? I understand where they're coming from, but what I would say is that basically, yeah, there's a lot of like black people that don't rate Asian people, and it's for the fact that when our grandparents and all these people there was coming here, yeah, for the first time coming to England, they was getting terrorized by NF and skinheads and teddy boys and all these people who used to gang up and try and beat up black people and attack them and do all sorts of things. And basically, you had no choice but to link up. So Indian, black, everybody had to link up. Yeah? And they've linked up and, they've made friends and, doing all this thing. And then Asian people have went on to own shops and these and things and that. And they've gone past us, yeah? Because they got their mind on business and owning shops and owning houses. And we was doing what we was doing, yeah? So I can see what they're saying, but at the same time, Asian people have focused on their goal and they've got to it and they're achieving it. Us lot now, we haven't really got a goal, really and truly, because if you really look at us properly, yeah, and that's not to put black people down and make you feel bad about yourself, it's to make you listen to what we're saying and say, you know what, that's a point there, let's build on it, let's try and change it, let's try and do something. Look at black people. Black people got reggae music, yeah? They got reggae music. They was good at that. They've been good at that. They still are good at that. Look at what's going on in reggae music now. Reggae music is gentrified, just like jazz. Look at jazz.
It will be.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Just like jazz. Jazz, you can't really go in jazz and see no black people. But who started jazz though? So basically, it's like we start things, but we don't finish them. So basically, it's like, you know, you start something good, you know.
I have a different take on it.
Yeah, all right. But yeah, you can. I'm gonna make you express that. But we start something, yeah, and somewhere along the line we drop asleep on the works.
You're looking at it the wrong way, though.
Why? Why do you say that?
Because for some reason or the other, God has put in us. We serve creators. So if you're looking at music from a musical point of view, naturally there's always been a progression. So you had gospel, you had reggae, then you had from ska to reggae, or pimento, reggae, then you had one drop. It takes changes.
No, I'm not just talking about music though. I'm talking about in everything. I'm not just talking about music. I'm talking about in everything. We all right. Obviously, we can't exclude out slavery because I know some people would like to exclude that out, but we've had a bad start from the start, yeah. And it's like we go around looking for acceptance with the people, with the people's ancestors who done certain things, and most of the time, them people, they don't want to know about that. They don't want to hear about that. So where you're trying to say, oh, well, this happened to me and I'm a victim and this is why this ain't happening, these people do not want to hear that because they don't want to confront that anyway. They don't want to talk about that. So we're at a disadvantage any way we look at it. So the only way we can look at it, really, yeah, is to sit down, talk to each other, find out what your difference is, what this is, what that is. Yeah, I'm talking about black people. Sit down, talk to each other, come to an understanding, and say, you know what? All right, your ego is big now. Yeah, you's a man, you have a big ego now. So we're gonna put you in this place here. You love talk now, so we're gonna put you in this place here. You's a handyman. You know if we build house and this. So we're gonna. But we all work together. But the trouble with us is one man saying one thing, the next man saying the next thing, the next man saying the next thing. So all 25 of us, right, we're all one chocolate, but we're all saying something different. So it's easy for us to get divided and detracted and misled and misguided.
Yeah, but I think you're no disrespect, but I think you're oversimplifying the situation. Remember, sometimes we can be very hard on ourselves.
Of course.
Because if you look at it like this, the way of the world, they deal with things technically, and they try to leave nothing to chance. So if a man's putting up a building or government, they will have meeting after meeting, thrashing something else out to get to it, and all we see is the manifestation of the building going up or the infrastructure that's been set in.
True.
Now, the thing is that when we engage something, we're not looking at it from a great depth. We're expecting that a little talk and things will manifest, but that's not the way of the world. Even when God was dealing with his people, he still told them what he wanted, and he put down the 10 Commandments, or he gave them, Leviticus, all the different issues, the Deuteronomy, and he showed down his statutes and his laws, and he trained them. When Jesus had his disciples for the 3 years of his ministry, he trained them, he taught them through boot camp, then he left, and then they were able to walk over a series of situations to get into that. So for those, they had the Spirit of God, that was the transforming power of them. It's the same with our situation here. gone through systematic terrorization, death, you know, and great evil to the point that, you know, most nations would have survived what we've gone through.
Of course, I'm not denying that, though. I'm not denying that, though. I'm not denying that.
No. So what I'm trying to say is that in order to bring about unification, we have to deal with it from not only just a psychological, but also sociological, scientific, everything structuring. Because yes, at the simple side of it, me, you, and someone else can go, right, let's put money together and that yard we can buy as a start. But when we're talking about nation now, then it's about a strategy. Remember, like, when people our local authorities are dealing with communities, they're dealing with massive budgets. They have people who are specialists. They go and have a 10-year strategy.
Of course.
How do we see an area, or where do we want to do that? So, for example, they go, we need to change the culture. So what they'll do, they'll build like kids have been obese. They're building a culture that they will know that this is not going to change overnight, but over a 5-year plan, we want to reduce the levels of obesity. So They'll say, okay, we need to look in the diets, we need to look in education, we need to look at the relationship with food, we need to train the parents. So they invest money, they put a budget together, and they will use health workers to go into school. So it's a big thing. So I'm saying, in terms of what we are looking at now, remember, this is 400 years also brainwashing.
Of course.
By magicians and all sorts of things.
Wizards.
Now,
wizards and magicians, yeah.
So, and people who are on top of their game, who did it systematically. So now now we see the result of that is the manifestation of what's happened, to the point that instead they did a good job on us, because we're not killing them, our oppressors, we're killing each other. So when you look at that, if you sat on a psychologist chair and you went and says, oh, I feel like killing my brother or mother, they'll be saying you've got the Oedipus syndrome, or you've got the Cain and Abel. Why do you feel that way? And normally you've been medicated, or if you're serious, then look at getting you signed off. Now, that is what's happening and playing that in our streets on a daily basis up until the coronavirus took place. But it's dealt with as the deterrent is crime and punishment, not from a psychological or sociological or scientific viewpoint. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every time there is an issue to do with our community, for example, it's dealt with through law and the strategy of suppression and oppression and containment. It's not dealt with that this is systematic as a result of conditioning and post-traumatic stress disorder. So we join the bandwagon, and we ourselves will start attacking, going, man, fix up, where I go, like, you pull Safi. That's our take on it. You know, we embrace that mindset instead of saying, okay, actually, you know what, man, we've gone through hell and back, and it's, thank God that we're able to get up in the morning with the same mind and to engage and to do what we're doing. To do that alone is enough. So when you look at it from that point of view, it then gives you compassion for the young people and the people around us that go, wow, man, guys, the mere fact that you're alive and you're still saying we need to celebrate just life, it changes it. So our young people now in their rap music is a manifestation of that, and it will continue to get worse until it's dealt with in a different way. And we've bought into the lie that it's just purely down to upbringing and parents, when really it's an environmental issue. Because
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
And that's the point. That's the starting point that we need to look at, to think, okay, cool. We need to build our stores. We need to build our own medical centres that focus just on the issues around black. So instead of looking at it from just a Eurocentric viewpoint, what is it that's causing our black people to have high blood pressure, coronary heart disease? Why are we so high when it comes down to diets? But we're not taking that on board. We're not funding that research.
True.
we're allowing someone else to dictate to that. So they're giving us medicines that may not necessarily be in tune with our bodies. You know, so even the food that we're promoting is not healthy for us because it's poor man's food. It was the food of slaves.
Of course.
But we celebrate it as a dish, when really veganism now is a transference of ITAL food.
But yeah. But hold on. But you're saying why are we not doing this and why? But listen to what I'm saying to you.
No, I'm not saying why.
No, I know you're saying, but you're saying that we should take that into consideration, and I do take it into consideration, and I know exactly what you're saying, and everything you're saying is right. But then again, check this though. The reason why we haven't got these things in place is because we've been fed a total different menu. The menu is like, when you look at Puff Daddy and Jay-Z's, they got $1 billion. But where's the give back? I'm not saying that they don't do things for the community, you know. I'm talking about where's the helping your people to get smarter and bigger and better. It isn't because, and the reason why they got their hands tied as well, because they got someone that's not from where they're from controlling them.
Because they went, look, we know end of the day it's the same.
But these are the people that we idolize though. These are the people that we look up to. Like, I want to be like Jay-Z, I want to be like...
But that's systematic, isn't it? Because
that's what I'm trying to say.
Remember, we're still at that generation where I remember growing up and was like, wow, there's a black person on TV. So we're of that generation. Now we've come through. Look at that when we all used to live together.
Yes.
Every day we had brainwaves of ideas. But when we all met, we were mentally worn out. We were emotionally worn out. We couldn't move.
Of course.
In a position, because at that time, the stage where we were at was a period of time for healing and restoration. So we were just a reflection of
ourselves,
what other people are feeling.
Yeah, ourselves.
So when you're in an environment now, like as I said, living in different places, literally most people are just surviving, and when they're going home, they've given most of their energies to the working environment.
That's
because
right.
you're hustling. Hustling
That's
is
right.
about worrying. So when you get home, the quality of time that you're going to spend with yourself or your family is going to be minimal, because you're constantly thinking, okay, what's the next thing? So therefore, everything becomes about self-indulgence.
100%.
So again, our culture, we don't, it's seen as a good thing if you eat out. So you go to KFC, you go to the Caribbean restaurant, but we can cook, but we don't cook. So therefore, we depending on someone else to cook our meals for us.
100%.
Food, and that's what I said. Was trying to share before, is that if we look at things nation and we take responsibility for our own well-being and our own care, and start reading and researching and passing information, and have a contingency to say, this is our progress sheet, this is our itinerary, this is our mandate for the black community. We're not going to depend on the NHS or anyone else. We're going to take upon our hands to transform our nation to a particular way.
That's and what you just said is 1,000% correct. And
that's what people need to be focused on, is sitting down and going, all right, cool, what we're dealing with here, assessing the situation, putting a business plan together, and saying, okay, in order to move forward here, this is what we need to do. This is the contingency plan. Exactly. This is what we need to do to get those who normally wouldn't engage to engage. So those from the upper echelons of society and those that are from the lesser, how can we get them to engage? What incentives can we do to get them on board? Just like any other organisation does, where they'll go, okay, if you involve in this questionnaire, we'll give you a £10 voucher. They invest thousands, millions of pounds on research to get people engaged.
Of course,
they've got think tanks.
Of course, and this is exactly what we need to do. And how did that start, Donald? It starts from sitting down and getting an understanding of each other. Yeah, don't mean because you're from Africa and I'm from Jamaica and this one's from Barbados and this one's from Kenya, wherever. Yeah, we can all sit down yeah, put our egos to one side and come to an understanding.
It depends if people want to. It just depends if people have the capacity to engage it, and you have to sell it in a way where they can see that they stand to benefit from it.
Yeah, well, how we stand to benefit is about our generation. So, if people think, "Well, I'm not getting involved with it," oh, that's
yeah,
not.
but it's not enough, though. That's not enough.
No, but that's what I'm trying to say. That's the values. This is the values that we're not having, because to everybody else, the Chinaman, Indian man, white man, that's their values. They're working for the next 150, 200 years down the line. Us lot, we're just thinking about, you know what? I want to make money before I get to 60. I want to make. Come on, man.
Because the difference is that if most of us saw Africa as a viable option, then we have something to attain to us. For most people now, they may go, okay, you know what? They're from the Caribbean. That's for the majority of people. That isn't a realistic measure for them.
What, Africa?
Africa's not a realistic measure for them. The Caribbean isn't a realistic measure for them.
Yeah, but check this though, Donald. The reason why it's not a realistic measure for them is because they sat down in England, and watched the television for 35 years and watched the only thing coming on in Africa is savages, AIDS, babies with big belly, diseases. That's all we see from Africa. When I went to Africa, I saw, that's bullshit.
And that's what I'm saying to you. So the point is that if you've got no hope, well, the Bible says the people perish because of lack of vision.
Of course.
Our community is perishing because there is no vision. So we are only playing out in what we've been educated. So some of us now that are being enlightened, and the blindfolds have been taken off us, are now looking around and saying, what can we do to make that transition? And the first thing is about mapping out the land and deciding first a set of goals, agreed goals and norms that people want to achieve. And that's what it is. To embrace something, people have to come to a common ground to say, actually, all right, why we're here, what do we want to achieve, is this a collective achievement, who's going to benefit, and then if people on board, are we going to move it forward, what are the resources that we need, what are the materials, how long are we going to project, what are the challenges we're going to face, what do we achieve, what do we stand to achieve from that, and that's going to be the starting point.
Well, you know what we stand to achieve, is that we're working for our up and coming generation, years and years and years and years to come. And basically, white folk have got their map, they got their way, they got their treasure map worked out. Indian, Chinese, kudos to all of them, because they all worked their asses off and stuck to their program. We need to stick to ours, and ours is.
But we don't have a program at the moment.
But that's what I'm saying. We need to make one and stick to it. That's what I'm trying to say to you. And the only way you can make a program is if you sit down with each other and come to an understanding and come to understanding what you're gonna do. What's Donald gonna do? What's Drummer gonna do?
Just having that realization that what my initial aims and objectives are for it may not necessarily be what other people have done. Because I remember going to a talk in Birmingham. This was quite a few years ago, and I was having the same conversation. And there was a young brother there who just said, "Look, that I don't relate to that. That's not my reality." And that's like his take on that. So, whilst
but did they ask him what? Did they ask him what his reality was, though?
Yeah, he just said that he lived in a nice suburb and life was good for him. He didn't relate. He couldn't relate to it. He was good. He was nice.
Well, obviously he's in the wrong class. Because that's what I'm trying to say. Not everybody's gonna. This is what I'm trying to say to you, Donald. Yeah. I'm talking about the people that are thinking about their generations. I'm not talking about the people that's living for next 10, 15 years and just want to live and go dance.
But you need to engage. The thing is that you need to engage those people at some point, because those.
Yeah, you know what? You know what's gonna. You know what happens? You know what happens, Donald? Yeah. You know what happens, right? This happens to everybody, no matter what colour you are. Happens to everybody. There's some people that take life serious and they study their books and they get education.